What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the soon to be renamed Everything School Podcast. Week zero is in the books, and I'm joined, as always, by my wonderful co host, Billy Derrick. Billy, uh, how are you, buddy? You got to spend
I,
some time Saturday at the football field.
I did, man. Football is back. I was in Nashville for Vandy-Hawaii, a game that was way too close to comfort for Vandy fans. So, Vanderbilt survived against the Rainbow Warriors. I think we're gonna be talking about that one. But yeah, Chase, it was just good to be back watching football, man. I mean, we talked about that last week, and just to be back, hearing the sounds. The fans, the tailgating. I got to spend some time with some tailgaters, and so it was good to be back. But week one is when you really feel it. Week zero is it almost feels like the preseason a little bit. Not we only had 7 games. Week one is back. We're rocking and rolling, and it feels like it's really back now, right? So college game day comes on Saturday morning. It's back. And man, it's like everything in your life changes when when college football is back. Everything's better. The coffee tastes better, and it's just everything's better. So I'm glad to be back on, Chase.
Yeah, people Saturday morning will be waking their kids up saying everything is back to normal. Your wrongs are all righted. Your problems are solved because it's football season. And
Yeah,
we have a full we have a full slate. Like you said, week zero is more like a preseason game. We went from 7 games to I'm not even gonna try to count these weekends games because we have what 4 days worth of games for yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Uh, and we even have
well,
we have games
Thursday,
Thursday. We have 5 straight games, 5 straight days of football. I mean, this is the best time of year. Week one,
buckle
arguably, even
up.
though some of these games might not be the most intriguing, but 5 days worth of football. I mean, what you couldn't
Uh,
ask for more. That's incredible. We don't get that till bowl
that's
season, basically.
yeah, that's just what the doctor ordered, man. We're rocking and rolling.
If you got the flu, don't worry because the prescription is here and it's called college football. So like I said, we have a full slate, 5 straight days worth of games. We've got a lot to talk about. I want to start by recapping week zero, as previously mentioned, 7 games. I only want to talk about a couple of them. Uh, I want to start with Notre Dame Navy. I know, Billy, I texted you during this game that I thought Sam Hartman looked great. A lot of
hmm
people, a lot of people, um, I feel like a lot of people are in the same camp. A lot of people are in your camp where it's like it's just Navy, but I don't know, man. There's something about he was cool, calm, collected, and he looked dialed. Like Notre Dame as a whole, that whole team looked dialed from the get-go, and they came out swinging and didn't stop.
Yeah, yeah, no, they looked really good. And I know I texted you that, but that doesn't take away from what Hartman was able to do. I mean, it's a Division I opponent, right? And so anytime you're able to score 42 points, as oh, there goes my camera, as easily as Notre Dame did, that's impressive. So Hartman, he's a guy that Notre Dame has wanted for a long time, right? They go through Everett Golson, Malik Zaire, Deshaun Kaiser, just good quarterbacks, but nobody that could take them over the edge. I think they feel like Sam Hartman can elevate them to the playoff and maybe even something further than that and better than that ultimately. So I thought the running backs looked really good. Audric Estime is being compared to Jerome Bettis, the bus at Notre Dame. So that's obviously good to see. They've got some weapons at receiver. Jaden Greathouse had 2 touchdowns. He's a talented freshman who they really like. Jaden Thomas is one of Hartman's favorite weapons. They always have good tight ends. I mean, I feel like they're producing an NFL tight end every year. So, and you know what you're going to get on defense with Notre Dame. That's Marcus Freeman's, cup of tea. So, yeah, no surprise Notre Dame was able to handle Navy the way they did. But if they can run the ball the way they did against Navy, against a team like Ohio State, then Notre Dame, I think they've got playoff aspirations, and I'm really high on this Notre Dame team. I mean, there aren't many seasons I'm not. I wasn't high on them early last year, after they lost to Marshall, but they came back this year. They picked up Sam Hartman, and it feels like they're back to the true Notre Dame, right? And that was an impressive showing. Now Navy, I know I texted you, Navy's not very good, and let's see what happens. I know they got TSU this week, which is a cool thing to do. They got to go on the road against NC State and beat them. And then I think it's week 4 against Ohio State in South Bend. So that's when it gets real, Chase. So that'll be fun to see. But yeah, Notre Dame looked really good. I'm a big Sam Hartman guy. I think he will do some good things, but it's going to come down to those big games against Ohio State, USC. I think do they have Clemson too?
They do have Clemson.
So yeah, I mean that's a brutal schedule for Notre Dame. So anybody saying they've got a soft cupcake schedule is lying. So Notre Dame, really impressed by them, and I'll be interested to see what they look like at NC State, and then of course versus Ohio State at home.
You mentioned those 3 games. Realistically, looking at that schedule, you win 2 of those games, 2 of those big 3. You're riding shotgun, depending on how you handle some of the mid-tier teams. But you handle 2 of the 3 of USC, Ohio State, and Clemson. You have got yourself a 1 foot at least in the door of the playoffs, and Sam Hartman would have himself 1 foot in the door of the Heisman Trophy. I know I talked off air a couple weeks ago about having a future on Sam Hartman Heisman. I didn't pull the trigger, but I'm kind of leaning toward it. I know it's wild, but you got to get value now. And if you wait too long on the Sam Hartman train, the value for sure will leave you. So I'm thinking about adding him as the third Heisman pick. Got Jordan Travis and Jumbo Joe Milton, of course. But no, I think I don't remember who was on the call for this game, but I know they were talking and they said that the pre-interviews they did with Sam Hartman, he's your prototypical NFL quarterback. He's 24 years old. He's cool. He's calm, collected, and he just oozes confidence. And you could tell that from the very start. And one of the touchdown passes, he looked like he was going down, and he steps up in the pocket, moves left, and just a beautiful throw to the, I think, freshman tight end that you were talking about. And he just, some of the throws he was making, you could tell he was confident in himself. And that's a big thing for me as a quarterback. Watching a quarterback is that confidence is huge. You watch a guy like Joe Burrow, the 2019 LSU team. I've never seen so much confidence coming out of a quarterback in one season, and that's translated to the NFL for him. Joe Shiesty, all these nicknames and the cool moments that you see from him. But that's realistic. That's what you want in a quarterback, somebody who is very confident in his game and in his arm. And I think Hartman brings that. I also like the cool rib necklace. He had a necklace made out of his removed rib, which is awesome. Like, I'm fully on the Sam Hartman train.
Me too, man. I mean, why not? He's athletic. He's 24 years old. So you get a little taste of Stetson Bennett a little bit, right? The guy that's been there and done that. And, Notre Dame fans love him, as they should. They finally have a quarterback that, they can lean on, and they can say, okay, we'll be all right. Right. I mean, the worst Notre Dame should do this year is lose 2, maybe 3 games. Right. But I think, their ceiling is something like 11-1 and making the playoff. So, and they feel it. They get Ohio State at home. And then Chase, is USC at home? I think Clemson, or is it Clemson that's at home?
Clemson's on the road this year. USC is at home.
Okay, so yeah, you get USC and Ohio State at home. And we saw USC's defense against San Diego State. They gave up 28 points, right? So, I think Notre Dame looks at that schedule and they like it. There are some challenges, but things are looking up for the Irish, and they should be excited.
I will speak on this game, looking at their schedule now. Bit of a trap game. We'll get to talk about this team a little later on in the show. Right before Ohio State, or right before USC at home, you go on the road to Louisville. And Louisville's they're coming in with high expectations. Right now, that spread is Notre Dame -4.5. So that's a game that we can keep an eye on as we get closer down the road. But looking at their schedule, that's going to be another tester.
Yeah. I love how you already got the spread there. I love it.
Yeah, it's already it's there. I'm just it's great. I love getting that far ahead. Sam Hartman, as we've mentioned before, 19 of 23, 251 yards, 4 touchdowns. Estimate on the yard, 16 or on the ground, 16 carries, 95 yards, and a tutty. And you mentioned that the defense was flying around. They were playing very aggressive. I love the linebacker play. I love the play off the edge. Uh, Navy ran a lot more triple option wing T than I had expected. But I think Notre Dame played it well. There's, you're always going to have some openings. It's a tricky offense to keep up with. As much as people will sit there and watch and go, oh, they're just running the ball. You know what they're doing. Depending on who your coach is and how you're game planning, that's a tough offense sometimes to stop. But I
Yeah.
thought Notre Dame handled it very well. And like you said, Tennessee State this weekend, super cool. Like Tennessee State playing Notre Dame is really cool.
Yeah.
So we have that Notre Dame looking great. I'm interested. I think we're both interested to see where this Sam Hartman train ends up by the end of the year. Billy, here's the game that I really, really, really could not wait to talk about. I got to watch the second half. I was home from work by the time the second half kicked off. Uh, I want to hear everything you thought of from your Vanderbilt Commodores. Kind of an inching out a close win there. It wasn't as close as the scoreboard shows, 7 points, but it was a scare to me at least. So I'm interested to see what you thought about this game this weekend.
Yeah, no, you're right, Chase. It was a scare, and Vanderbilt was fortunate to win that game. Clark Lee said after the game that, credit to Timmy Chang and that offense, the run and shoot offense, like we talked about, it's tough to prepare for, especially when you got on week 0, right? And so, I think for Vandy, you look at this game and you go, okay, you got the win, right? You're just 2 years removed from winning 2 games. You went 2-10 in year 1 under Clark Lee, and you barely eked out wins over UConn and Colorado State. So now you're at the point where, you got to win over Hawaii. And, you're mad and you're not happy, but you got the win. Right. So, it's always easier to look at the tape after a win as opposed to a loss. Right. If Vanderbilt would have gone down in this game, that's a catastrophe. Right. That's so they didn't cover. Right. I think the spread was 17. And I think it even dropped right before the game.
It
They
got
won by, yeah.
Oh, sorry, it got down to 16.5 before kickoff.
Yeah. It got down to 16.5. And, a lot of people were kind of skeptical about that at first, just because Vanderbilt hasn't been a favorite, that big of a favorite over anybody. Much less a good Hawaii team. I mean, this is a good offensive team. So they came in here and played really well. First, I'll start with the bright spots for Vandy. AJ Swan, I thought, played well. Will Shepard did his thing. Jane McGowan had the 97-yard kickoff return. The first kickoff return touchdown in 9 years for Vandy, which was crazy. But negatives were the play in the secondary, right? Their corners really struggled against that Hawaii pass offense, and their offensive line struggled. Vandy really couldn't get anything going in the run game. They only rushed for, I think it was 39 yards. You should be winning that rushing battle over Hawaii. So I think that's a concern. Their offensive line has to play better, and so I think after a game like this, you're glad you won and you can learn from it, but you're also glad that you get Alabama A&M instead of Wake Forest right now in week 1, right? You get a little bit of a break against an FCS team. And so I think for Vandy that they're fine, right? They're okay. You didn't look great, especially in the second half. They were up 35-14. They let Hawaii get back in the game and make it a 1-score game. And Hawaii had an onside kick opportunity where they recovered, but they were out of bounds. And then Vanderbilt got an interception on Hawaii's last offensive possession. So, there were some good, Chase, but more bad. I thought there's some things they got to correct. But overall, they're growing. They're 1-0. They got a chance to go 2-0 this week. And for Vanderbilt, that's all you can really ask for, right? You can't ask for much more. than that at this point, where you are in the growth of the program. So, like I said, there was some good, but more bad, and Vandy's they'll correct it and move on. But yeah, I was surprised by their offensive line, the lack of push in the run game, and also the cornerback play. They let Hawaii gain way too many yards offensively. So, it's good they got Alabama A&M, but they got a tough test against Wake Forest on the road here in a couple of weeks. So that'll be interesting.
You mentioned it secondary wise. Ashlock, uh, do you know how to pronounce his first name?
I think it's
Pofele?
Pofele, yeah.
Pofele Ashlock, 7 catches, 127 yards, and 1 touchdown. Big game from him. I want to ask you, I got a couple questions for you. I know you mentioned offensive line. I noticed that when I was watching the game in the second half. First, I guess I want to start with there was a lot of undisciplined. There's a lot of late flags toward the end. I think on the offensive line that backed them up. I know one drive really far
Mm-hmm.
back. I know the guys calling the game made a comment that Vanderbilt was not a really highly penalized team last year, and to start the year, kind of, I wouldn't say a whole lot on a different path. But what do you make anything of those calls? I know it's week 0, so it's hard to kind of look at that as a big thing, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean it's not what you want, right? And Clarkley wasn't happy with it, right? You were right. There were a lot of extracurricular penalties that they didn't need. After a Will Shepherd touchdown, he dropped the ball in the defender's lap and sort of stepped over him. Like they didn't need that. And then in the last possession before halftime, they had a couple of procedural penalties that just stalled the drive. And they couldn't get anything going. There was still 50 seconds left in the first half, and Clark Lee was visibly unhappy about that. He was the first one to start walking to the locker room, heading into the half. So there were a lot of things Clark Lee wasn't pleased with. I think he said their energy waned throughout the game. So I think they got up 35-14, and naturally they got comfortable, right? And you can't get comfortable like that the way they did against a really good opponent. Hawaii has a dangerous offense, and they're going to put up points against everybody they play. They got Stanford this week on Friday night, and that's a game I think they can win, right? I mean, Hawaii's a dangerous offense, and I'm not going to say Vanderbilt wasn't prepared, but they were caught off guard a few times on defense, and Hawaii ran some plays that Vanderbilt didn't study on tape, and that happens every game for every team. But I don't think Vanderbilt responded well enough to those. So they'll get back in the film room and they'll look at the tape and they'll learn from those mistakes. But yeah, you're right, Chase. There was a lot of penalties that just sort of shot themselves in the foot and stalled drives, and defensively they had some lapses. But yeah, I think for Vanderbilt, those are all coachable and correctable. And Clark Lee said that after the game, right? This isn't. They've got the dudes that they think they can win with, right? They can get to 6 wins with the guys on the team. So I don't think it's a lack of talent. And that. I mean, Vanderbilt's improved recruiting and talent wise. So I don't think that's the issue. I think a lot of it is coachable and correctable things that they'll get in the film room and they'll learn from it. So overall, I would probably grade this game as in the C range. It wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. But it's a nice opportunity to just look at your performance and say, okay, we weren't focused, we weren't laser focused 100% of the time, but if we're able to get focused against Alabama A&M, we'll get a win. And if we go on the road, stay motivated, find a way to win that Wake Forest game, you're lined up in a good spot. So they're fine. Again, they had some issues that they think are all coachable and correctable, and I think they'll get back in the film room and they'll be okay.
Do you think? I know there's a little bit of a weather delay before the game started. Do you think that played any effect to the later games? I know the game kind of went not as late, but kind of deep into the night a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it did. I talked to somebody pretty close to the program, and he said that weather delays like that are long, and they affect the home team more than the road team, especially in Vanderbilt's situation. Hawaii was in a tent in one of the behind one of the end zones. And Vanderbilt, they're able to sort of roam around the facility, and they get some more food in their system, and they get sort of sluggish, and they just you're just waiting, right? And so it's hard to stay loose. So they might have gotten tight a little bit, and they wanted to get out there and play right away, but they weren't able to, right? So almost a 2-hour delay. I think that sort of affected Vanderbilt a little bit. I don't think that's an excuse, but I think you can point to that and say, okay, Vanderbilt was probably affected a little bit by that. But at the end of the day, you got to fight through adversity, in college football. And it was a nice early challenge for Vanderbilt to see how they respond. And I don't think they responded well enough. And like I said, they were fortunate. They got some bounces to go their way. And, in that second half, you probably saw this too, Chase, where, Vanderbilt got some good luck. That there was a huge defensive play in the fourth quarter where B.J. Anderson, Vanderbilt cornerback, deflected a pass that would have been a touchdown for Hawaii, and they would have tied the game there. So that was a massive play for Vanderbilt that they desperately needed. So they were able to do just enough, and I think there's something to be said for that. And it'll be interesting to see how they respond and how they learn from all this. But yeah, I think it played a little bit of a factor, because you're just sort of stuck sitting around doing nothing, and then you got to get up and play a football game. So yeah, I it's not an excuse, but I think it did play a little bit of a role.
I think you got your first challenge as well this season. That was a late post game. I saw
Oh
you
my
tweeted a
gosh.
picture of a coffee cup, just somebody getting drenched in coffee. How real quickly, how was the late game post game show, or the late
It
night
was,
post game show?
yeah, I think I downed about 3 cans of Mountain Dew throughout that game just so I could be ready for that post game show. But yeah, we were planning on it being about an hour and a half long post game show, starting at 10 o'clock, to where we can stay at we did it at the Chili's on West End. We were hoping we could stay a little bit longer than we did, but it ended up only being about 40 minutes long. So it was fun, but it was a long night. I didn't do much of anything on Sunday. Just slept a lot. But no, it was good because college football's back, and it's always good to get back talking football. But yeah, I mean, as somebody that covers Vandy, we had some early adversity too. So everybody had to adjust to that lightning delay.
So I agree with you with the offensive line and some of the penalties being coachable. I mean, I don't think Vanderbilt looked that bad. I think the defense made some big plays, especially with the 2 picks. The pick in the end zone, that was impressive. I was watching that on my phone at work, and that happened, and I started screaming. And got a lot of wild looks. That 17.5 was still in play at that point. And then
Yeah.
especially the pick at the end off of Shager, as Hawaii was trying to drive and tie the game. But I think there's a lot to build on, which that's all you can ask for from a team that's looking to turn things around. Just a lot of stuff to build on. And I think Clark Lee, he's definitely a guy who knows the right buttons to push and the right words to say. So I expect big things. I expect only big things going forward for this Vanderbilt team, especially Alabama A&M. I think that's a good, like you said, it's not Wake Forest, so it's a good bounce back game. It's a game to get things right and to kind of correct the things that you might have
Mm-hmm.
misplaced in that Hawaii game. But on the other hand, I think Hawaii looked great. You mentioned they've got Stanford this weekend. I think that spread was Stanford -2.5. So it's gonna be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if Hawaii pulls that off. So
Yeah.
it was an entertaining game. You can't ask for a better late game than that game. Um, one more thing that I want to say about Week 0, USC, that defense. I don't think it's gotten any better. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Coming into this season for USC, especially as a USC fan, you're hoping your defense just looks a little bit better out of the gate, against a team like San Jose State. But San Jose State with Siobhan Cordero, I think he played at Colorado State. He looked really good. But they also ended up scoring 56 points on him. So, what you're going to get offensively from USC. and they had a guy, Zachariah Branch, that was electric. I mean, he had a couple of plays that just sort of, made your eyes pop. So he's a stud. They've got weapons around Caleb Williams, and he's got as good of a chance as anybody to win the Heisman again. I don't think he does, because it's just so hard to repeat. But yeah, man, San Jose State, impressed with them, not impressed with USC's defense. I don't think that's not what you wanted to see if you were a USC fan coming to this season, starting out against San Jose State. But like you said, it's week 0, and all these teams, even in week 1 this weekend, you're going to have things to clean up, because you're looking at film from these teams from last season, right? You don't have a week of this season to look at film, so it's hard for everybody, right? And so anytime you're able to face a team like a San Jose State or Hawaii or Mercer or MTSU, whoever, you're glad you get that opportunity to act as sort of a preseason game, right? And so I think a lot of these teams are happy about that. But no, yeah, USC's defense struggled, and that's why I don't have them in my Final Four playoff teams, because I don't think they're going to be able to stop anybody.
I agree with you, and I agree with you on that 100%. I don't think Caleb Williams can go back to back. I don't think anybody will ever go back to back again. And Zachariah Branch, true freshman. So we're going to see a lot of that guy going forward, probably, especially this season. So shout out to USC's defense for not improving at all. It's always fun to see from a college football fan. But I want to transition a little bit, because like we have talked about, week 1 is here. And along with week 1 comes our week 1 predictions and bets. I'm going to take a moment real quick to recap week 0's bets. Billy, we didn't do terrible. We didn't do as bad as I thought I would do, at least. As you see on screen here, let me throw this over here. Here is my quickly thrown together graphic for our week 0 bets. Billy went 5-8 with picks, 0-1 with locks of the week. Billy had USC plus minus 30.5 for his lock of the week. I went 6-7. My 0-1 lock was Vanderbilt plus or minus 17.5. So we're both we're both in the same boat in our locks. And I'm not a math guy, but I think we're pretty close win percentage wise too. After week 0.
Yeah,
So
not too bad. I mean,
yeah,
6-7, Chase. That's pretty good right there. And then 5-8. I mean, you're bowl eligible. You just lost your bowl game. I didn't even make a bowl, so we got to do better on our locks, though. That was bad. One of us has to bounce back at least and get our locks down this weekend.
I think I want to turn. I think while we're looking at this, I just had the random idea pop up in our head. In my head, in my head. I think I want to get a trophy. For between the two of us. At the end of the season for best picks, like a pick trophy. I think that would be awesome, and we get
That'd
to
be
keep it for a
sweet.
year. Yeah, I'm gonna get on that. I'm gonna start think taking that one. So yeah, that's our recap from week 0 bet wise. Let me get the new slate of games pulled up. Billy, we start hot tomorrow. And by hot, I mean wild, because this first game on our list right here has completely flipped upside down on its head due to Cam Rising, as the internet would say, or has been saying recently, being Cam Rising and just not playing tomorrow night. I haven't really got to do much research on it, on the injury. I know they have their starting tight end is out as well. So it's looking like Cam Rising is not playing. And I'll just get into this game now because I'm already getting ahead of myself. Florida versus Utah tomorrow night. The first big game of week 1. Utah opening up as a minus 4.5 favorite. I think last week when we talked, it was 7, and it's completely jumped down to 4.5 now. Over under set at 44.5. So yeah, Cam Rising is not playing tomorrow, and that completely throws a new cog into this game. Uh, Especially if you're a Florida fan. If you're a Florida bettor, this is really moved in your favor.
Yeah, I mean, You look at that, and Utah, I think, started out even higher than -4.5, but that it has dropped down, to that right now, 4.5, and I think it'll even drop down a little bit further as we get into Thursday game day for Florida and Utah. You mentioned this, Florida's first non-conference game outside the state of Florida since 1991. So you talk about the elevation that's a challenge for the Gators going all the way from Florida. I think they had to practice in Dallas because of a lot of the, I guess a lot of the weather concerns, and so they're finally able to get into Utah and play that game. But yeah, Chase, Cam Rising being out is huge. I mean, he would have been the best player on the field, and he's not going to be able to go, it looks like. So they'll go with their backup. For Florida, that's a golden opportunity. I mean, if you're the Gators, you got to take advantage of this opportunity. And Utah is at home, right? Florida's on the road, so I think that you got to give the edge to Utah there. But the home team usually gets how many points? Chase, is it 3?
They get 3.
So yeah, I mean 1.5, close to a pick 'em now, really, if this is a neutral site. So I look at this as a golden opportunity. Florida, a lot of pressure on Graham Mertz. Florida's got some monsters on the defensive line. So if they can get pressure on that backup quarterback, that should take the crowd out of it. And then if they can establish the run with ETN and the other back they've got some nasty running backs. They got Pearsall at receiver. Florida has the dudes. They have everybody they need to win this game. They just can't screw it up, right? If you're Florida, go out there and act like an SEC team and beat Utah, right? Impose your will. They should do that. Utah's going to be motivated, though. Whittingham has a great team, great culture, and they'll be motivated after what happened last year. So I'm nervous about this one, taking Florida, but I'm going to go with the Gators. I'm going to take Florida plus 4.5 in this one. And you know what, Chase? I might just take him outright too. With Cam Rising out, I mean, I don't even know who the backup is for Utah. So,
I think I was checking the injuries earlier. I think their backups hurt. I think we're down to their third string
oh
because
my
there's
goodness. I mean, so
Cam
that's
Rising isn't the only quarterback on the injured list.
I mean, that's DEFCON level 4. I mean, that is not good for the Utah Utes. So, give me Florida, book it. Give me the Florida Gators plus 4.5 and money line. I mean, I guess it's not even plus 4.5 anymore. I'm taking them outright, but I guess technically I'll go plus 4.5 Florida. I don't know, man. I think they've got more explosive talent. I love their running backs. Anytime you're able to take your running game on the road and win, I think that's a good thing. I think Florida's going to be able to do that. So give me Florida, man. Give me the Gators.
I think off the top of my head, the guy who's playing quarterback played 10. I don't. 10 games sounds like a lot. Like he has 10 games. He's played 10 games, 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. So not a lot of productivity out of this guy. I apologize. His name is slipping my mind right now. I know. I saw a stat where on Twitter where he let me find this real quick. Something about he the good thing about him is he was raised on a farm with 1,200 pigs.
Oh,
I
wow.
I think that's the most random stat I found on this app. But yeah, I saw something with 12,000 pigs. Bryson Barnes is expected to start tomorrow. Uh, Barnes is a junior who walked on at Utah in 2020, played 10 games last year, going 37 for 57, 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. He also grew up on a farm with 12,000 pigs. So stat of the day is Bryson Barnes, Utah's quarterback tomorrow, 12,000 pigs. But what do you do with pigs? Pigs, Billy. What you know what you do with pigs? You make bacon. And that's what Florida's going to do tomorrow with Bryson Barnes. They're going to cook up some bacon. I don't know. I can't. I want to lean outright. I want to lean outright a little bit. But as of right now, give me Florida plus 4.5. And give me the under of 44.5. You're looking at a team with a guy who grew up on a farm with 12,000 pigs as their starting quarterback. And you got another team who probably could go through 12,000 pigs and find a better quarterback than Graham Mertz. And that offense was abysmal in the spring game. So there's no way this game gets gets to 45. There's no way. I will be very surprised if this game gets that high scoring. Uh, but again, who knows? A lot of the unders hit for week 0, so I'm gonna take that trend over. 2, you get an offense who was so bad in the spring game that they got booed off the field, and 12,000 pigs. So give me the under in Florida plus 4.5. That non-conference stat is probably the most Florida Gator thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Them not having played a non-conference game outside of Florida since '91. That
Yeah.
that's kind of ridiculous. But and that is Florida for you. So we both have our picks. Billy, do you want to officially throw down money line? Or are you comfortable with just 4.5?
Give me Florida, man. I like Florida in this one. Utah is down to their third string quarterback. Give me the Gators. Give me the Gators in this one outright. And I guess I'll go under 2 in that one.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. A game. The next game on our docket is a game that I'm super excited about. We talked about this game a little bit last week in our week 0 uh predictions. But I wanted to get a repeat of it because UConn football is so fun. I love talking Jim Mora and the Huskies from Connecticut. NC State goes on the road going into UConn into the rent as a 14.5 point favorite. The over under set at 46.5. NC State is 2-8 against the spread in its last 10 games, while UConn has hit the money line in 4 of their last 5 games. Billy, you got a pick for UConn NC State.
Give me the Huskies plus 14.5. I like the over to hit in this game. NC State, as you mentioned here, they're 2-8 against the spread in the last 10 games. UConn has hit the money line in the last 4 of 5 games for them, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, I like Jim Mora as a head coach. I don't know much of their personnel at all, but give me the Huskies here. I like what Mora's doing. I don't think NC State is really all that. It's early. It's week 1. Anything can happen. I'm not going to pick UConn to win, but give me the Huskies plus 14.5 and under 46.5 in this one.
As an avid X user, I'm still not used to that. One of my follows is Jim Mora and UConn Huskies, and they've got this massive train going out of sell out the rent. They want this place sold out for NC State. It's a big game. It's a really big game for UConn, a team that's rebounding and kind of rebuilding year by year. And like the stat says, 4 of the last 5 money lines. Oh, and NC State, no more Devin Leary. And last year they looked abysmal without Devin Leary. Uh, I'm definitely taking 14.5. But my thing, you know what, Billy? You don't. They always say scared money doesn't make money. Give me UConn outright money line. UConn at
Mm.
home against NC State. Week 1, anything can happen. If this hits, I can say I was ahead of the curve. If it doesn't, then I can say I was wrong and be cool with it. But give me UConn money line. And I don't think I'm gonna touch the over under just because I don't know too much about the personnel. Like you said, you said under, correct?
Yes.
Under 46.5. Okay. Yeah, I don't. In games that
Actually,
I
no,
don't,
I said it. I said over.
you
I
just
said
say over.
over.
Okay, okay, okay. In games that I don't completely know the personnel, it's hard to go under or over under just because it's such a scary thing to me. Like there's so much that could happen. You can miss a field goal and get to 46, or you can make that field goal and get to 47. So I think I'm gonna leave the over under alone because most of my willpower of thinking will be UConn money line. So book it, mark it. Uh, but man, that's is saying that's scary. Like that's hard to get out. But like I'm here for it. I think that Jamora has a great program. I think they're building correctly. And it's at home, and you're gonna get a ruckus UConn crowd. I wonder if they might celebrate the basketball team just winning a national championship. They might honor them. So The electricity in that stadium is going to be it's going to be palpable, and I'm so excited. So give me UConn money line. Uh, Another game that is very interesting to me tomorrow night. Nebraska taking on Minnesota. I love opening with conference games. That's the best. I wish we could do that more often. I know there was it UTEP Jacksonville State's a conference game from week 0, but I'm all about opening with conference games because it just means more. Uh, Minnesota -7, 7-point favorites. The over under right now set at 42.5. Minnesota has hit 5 of their last 6 money lines, but the stat that gets me, Nebraska has lost 5 of the last 6 games to Minnesota, but those last 3 losses have been by 7 points exactly. So you
Mm.
have a team coming into this game who's gotten the crap kicked out of them recently, and a new head coach with Matt Rule. And some of this stuff, they've been posting some practice videos, some behind the scenes stuff with NC State. Matt Rule is getting this team motivated. He's getting this team ready to go. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and just give you my pick here. Nebraska, book it +7. And I'm gonna make it. Oh, I'll come back to that. But Nebraska right now is my early lock of the week at +7. Just because you look at that trend, 5 of the last 6. It's very hard to lose 6 out of the last 7, especially if you lose that game by more than 7 points after being so close these last 3 years when you've been arguably not great. I know a couple years ago Nebraska was a king of 1 point loss or 1 possession losses. But yeah, I think this is easy. I think you look at the numbers and you look at the trends. Nebraska +7 is almost highway robbery right now, because I think Nebraska is going to come in here competitive. And I don't know about you, Billy. I'm not too high anymore on PJ Fleck. I think the PJ Fleck boat has kind of started gaining water. I know they haven't had really any bad years, but I think the boat that we row is to me at least is starting to take on water. So give me Nebraska +7, and give me the over 42.5.
That you're right. That boat has taken on some water, but screw it, Chase. I'm still rowing that boat. Give me
Oh,
Minnesota. Give me Minnesota here. I like PJ Fleck still. He's got a culture going, and they're not just going to give in, right? This is a night game at home, season opener, home opener, week 1. Nebraska is still early, very early in their build. I mean, Matt Rule is a great coach, but those game number 1s are never easy. So give me Minnesota to barely cover the -7, and let's throw the over on that. Over 42.5. I'll go Minnesota -7, over 42.5. Again, I don't know a ton of the personnel for either team, but give me the home team in week 1. A lot of times the week 1 home team at night, Saturday night, I favor that team. But now again, don't let that take away from what Nebraska can do this year. I love Matt Rule. Their fan base is behind him. They've got a good quarterback. So dangerous pick there. I'm living on the edge, but I will go Minnesota -7 there.
I think Tanner Morgan is back for his 12th year at Minnesota. It feels like.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I mean, anytime you got a veteran quarterback like that's a good thing. So give me the Gophers.
we have our first. I love this. We have our first head-to-head clash of week 1. I'm all about head-to-head clashes because it's definitely going to change our record. So this is
Yeah.
the first battleground game for the two of us, Nebraska and Minnesota. I'm so excited about that game. Uh Friday night, not a lot going on. Miami plays Friday night. I forget who Miami, Florida. It's the Miami Bowl. So I don't have that on here just because that should be just a mollywhopping. So the most interesting game to me Friday night, Louisville against Georgia Tech. Uh, Another conference game to open the season. Like I said earlier, love me some opening conference games. Louisville coming in as a 7.5 point favorite with the over under set at 48.5. Louisville 7-3 against the spread in the last 10. But also, Georgia Tech is 6-4 against the spread in the last 10. Billy, give me the Louisville Georgia Tech rundown.
Yeah, it's kind of weird this one's in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, not the most appealing matchup in Atlanta, Louisville and Georgia Tech. Um Friday night, Georgia Tech, I mean, you would favor them in Atlanta, but I don't think many of their fans will travel to that. I like Louisville here. I love Jeff Brom. I think they've got some talent. They're still early in that build, so I don't think they'll really do a ton this year. But I don't like Georgia Tech at all. I mean, they lost. I think they lost a lot after last year. Of course, we saw they lost a ton in the portal 2 years ago. Um, but yeah, give me Louisville. I think they've got some athletes. I like what Jeff Brom is doing there. Give me Louisville plus 7.5. Or no, so Louisville's the favorite in that.
Louisville is the favorite. Yeah, so the way I have it here
Okay.
is I
Okay.
just put, yeah, so they're 7.5 point favorites.
Okay. Yeah. So give me Louisville minus 7.5. It's the neutral site. They're 7-3 against the spread in the last 10. So give me Louisville there minus 7.5, and I will go over. I think there'll be a lot of points here. Georgia Tech's not running the triple option anymore, so not as long of time of possessions. So I'll go Louisville minus 7.5, and then over 48.5 there. I like Jeff Brom. I like what he's doing. Who's the coach at Georgia Tech? I don't even know
Oh
the
man, I think it's a Clemson assist, a former Clemson assistant. I think
Okay,
they.
because they had Jeff Collins who just did awful job there. So I think they're in a tough spot right now. Highly energized, motivated game, but I'll go Jeff Brom, the Louisville Cardinals. He's coming home, and he doesn't want to lose his first game of his career. So give me the Louisville Cardinals.
The head coach for the Georgia Tech football Yellow Jackets is Brent Key.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so Brent Key is the new head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I think Louisville's gonna have a really big year. Uh, I honestly, I know a lot of people. I've seen this a lot. It's a very popular pick. Louisville making the ACC title game this year. I wouldn't go that far, with this Cardinals team, but I think they're very good this year, and I think they're a very dangerous team. Like you said, Jeff Brom is back at his alma mater, and I think he's building a great team there. They have a really dangerous offense. I'm gonna go Louisville minus 7.5. I don't know if I'm gonna touch the over under here, but you know what? Like you said, like we've discussed before, life is too young to not bet the over under. Life is too short, I should say. So I'm gonna follow you, Billy. I'm going over 48.5. I wasn't going to, but you know what? The more the merrier with the picks. So give me over 48.5
I
on this
like it.
game. It's gonna be a fun game in Atlanta, which is weird. I mean, I guess Georgia Tech's pretty close to Atlanta, but I don't know. I don't know many Georgia Tech fans at all, and I don't know if many
Yeah.
will travel. Louisville might travel. Louisville, I like their fan base a lot. I think they have a pretty slept on fan base. Uh, but yeah, I like Louisville minus 7.5 and the over. So that's our one game Friday night. Friday's not as fun as the other days. It's kind of like that little sleeper day in between. Uh, but let's get into Saturday and the weekend, because the weekend I think is fun. The weekend is chock full of games. We can start with a game that I'll be at. I'm very excited to say that I'll be at this game. Tennessee, uh, in a neutral site game in Nashville. Thank you, whoever scheduled that game. Makes it so much easier on me. Less travel. Tennessee taking on the Virginia Cavaliers. Tennessee coming into Nashville as a 28-point favorite with the over/under set at 56.5. Tennessee has hit the over in 5 out of the last 8 games. Of course they have, because that's all they do is hit the over. Virginia is 4-6 against the spread in their last 10. 2-7-1 in over/under. Billy, I'm gonna let you take this first, because mine's gonna be interesting.
I bet. All right, let's go. This is tough. It's a lot of points. 28. Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and my brain keeps telling me to pick Tennessee, to hammer Tennessee. So I'm hammering the balls here. I'll go minus 28 Tennessee, and this over is, you can hammer the over too in this one, 56.5. Tennessee, I think Virginia will score, similar to the Hawaii. Like, I don't think it's going to be 35-28, but heading into the Vandy-Hawaii game, I said Vanderbilt's going to win handily, but I think Hawaii will score. So I'll go something like 48-14, something like that. I think Tennessee covers pretty easily here. Virginia has their best defensive player, Chico Bennett, out. They've got a transfer quarterback from Monmouth, the Division II school. So, I mean, that tells you everything you really need to know about Virginia. Tony Elliott's their head coach. They really struggled last year, obviously, with that tragedy. So, we'll see if that plays a role in this game. But yeah, give me Tennessee here, minus 28, and then over 56.5.
I'm gonna follow you with both of these picks, but I'm gonna say this: I think Tennessee will hang 70. I don't know. I haven't seen Tennessee's team total, but this is a team that hung 70 on Missouri last year, or got close to hanging 70 on Missouri last year. And you look at both of these teams, that's wild. I know we're getting wild here. Billy's face is hilarious right now. But I mean, like you said, Virginia's best defensive player is out. And this Tennessee team, while the offensive line is kind of scrambling right now, because we don't know what the status of Cooper Mays truly is heading into this game. You get all three of your running backs back from last season, and you want to talk about dogs in the backfield. Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, and Dylan Sampson all just are in crazy good athletes. This wide receiver core is deep as all get out with Brim McCoy, Dante Thornton, Squirrel White. Ramel Keaton is coming back. I think Ramel Keaton is not getting the attention that he deserves after a great last year. I think he's your number one this year. No matter how good Brew and Squirrel are, Ramel is your number one, the experienced guy. You get your tight end Jacob Warren back. Joe Milton's back. This offense really doesn't lose much of a step from the way it ended last year with Joe playing the last two games. So yeah, I don't see a way that Tennessee doesn't. No, 70 is crazy. I don't see Tennessee at least score 60, and I don't. You could that to me that's easy. That's an easy 60. I know Nico's probably gonna play, and I think Nico's gonna want to score touchdowns. I don't think Nico's gonna get in there to hand the ball off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Josh has yet to strike me as the guy who takes his foot off the gas in any situation.
That's a
Uh,
good point. I think Tennessee, they take Joe Milton out. They're not going to tell Nico, hey, let's relax. They're going to tell him to step on the gas and keep it rolling. So now I'm starting to think about that pick and go, okay, maybe they get close to 70. I think probably realistically 60 is a good barometer. But I mean, you never know. Josh Heupel, I mean, he doesn't care. He does not care. He will stuff it down your throat. And I respect it. So, and Tennessee fans love it. They love that. So yeah, no, I like Tennessee to cover easily here. And Chase is going with the 70 burger.
I'll cut it down. I'll cut it down to 60. But I would just if they score 70, you can just be like, well, Chase kind of said it. But this defense too. This defense is really slept on. I think this defense is aggressive. I know Tony Elliott was talking about aggressive linebackers. He spoke highly of Aaron Beasley. I'm not going to go too much of a rant here, but yeah, I think this team is really solid. Week one is a time to show your offense off, kind of show your weapons. And there's a little animosity brewing here. I don't know if you've seen this, but there was a tweet put out about Tony Elliott saying that he was offered the Tennessee job before Josh Heupel was. And Danny White retweeted it and said, "I don't remember offering. I didn't realize that having a conversation with you meant I offered you. There was zero offers. We offered one guy and we hired one guy. So the AD kind of getting a little responsive on Twitter. We love that. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun game. Nashville, it's sold out, so it's gonna be rocking. A lot of Rocky Top gonna be sung on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday. Transition a little bit to Saturday evening. Boise State taking on Washington. Washington coming in as 14.5 point favorites. Over under set at 58.5. Washington 5-5 against the spread in the last 10. Boise State's 2-3 against Washington in their last 5 matchups. Billy, you have a pick for this game?
Yeah, give me Washington. I love Michael Penix. He's one of my dark horses for the Heisman this year. I like them to cover at home minus 14.5. That's a lot of points though for the over under. I'll go under 58.5. Don't know a ton about Boise State, but Washington, like I said, man, Michael Penix is a stud, and he's going to put up points this year in that offense, and I think they might get close to that over under. But I'll go under 58.5, but minus 14.5. Give me the Huskies there.
I'm gonna follow you with the spread. I'll take Washington minus 14.5. Big on Michael Penix as well. But I'm gonna fade you on the over under, and I will take the over of 58.5. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I'm just feeling it. Michael Penix, I'm feeling that over. Boise State usually has a semi decent offense, so I would assume that they probably have that, maybe a little more. I know they're picked to win the Mountain West, should I say the future Pac-12. So yeah, I like the over. I like the over here, 58.5. But that 2 and 3 in the last five is just very daunting, and that's too hard to. You look at that and you can't. It's hard to take Boise State here. But yeah, give me over. I'll fade you there. So that's our second clash of the week. Speaking of clashes, this game, the game day game for week one, the North Carolina Tar Heels taking on their rival to the south in the South Carolina Gamecocks. North Carolina getting 2.5 at home, with the over under being set at a whopping 64.5. South Carolina's 4-1 in their last five meetings. That includes last year's bowl game, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. While UNC is 5-5 against the spread in their last 10. Billy, where's your head at for game day number one in college football?
This is tough. This is a really tough one. Neutral sites in Charlotte. South Carolina will have most of the fans, so it'll probably feel like a home game for the Gamecocks. But in a lot of these games, Chase, I try to look at who's the better quarterback, right? I think Drake May is the better quarterback. Spencer Rattler is a good player, but I don't know. I'm not as high on Spencer Rattler as a lot of other people are. I know he came up clutch last year late in the season, but give me UNC here. I like Drake May a lot. I think he's got a chance to win the Heisman this year. I don't know that UNC is going to win enough games for him to do that, but I don't know, man. South Carolina started last season slow. They've got a brutal schedule. This will be a tough loss for them, but give me UNC minus 2.5 here. I like Drake May a lot. And neither team has a very good defense. I think UNC will have their way defensively or offensively rather. And then Spencer Rattler, he's been inconsistent. So we just don't know what we're going to get quite every game from Rattler. So give me Drake May and the Tar Heels to cover minus 2.5. I think there's going to be a ton of points in this game, though. It's going to be electric. It's going to be fun to watch Saturday night. I'll go over 64.5.
And just when I thought that I was crazy for writing down over 64.5 on my paper, I'm following you both with both picks. Give me North Carolina minus 2.5. I love Drake May. I like Drake May a lot. I hope Drake May is the future. Well, it should have been a future Tennessee Titan, but this organization loves drafting random quarterbacks in the second round. Different topic for a different day. But I think that North Carolina defense, like last year, was awful last year. I don't know if they've really done much to improve it. We're talking about a team that had a shootout almost in the 70s with App State last year. So over 64.5, over. Oh, hit the over the over if you want to go that way. But yeah, this is a fun game day. UNC South Carolina, that's a fun way to start your game day year. It's a cool rivalry. I know they're both in different conferences. You really think South Carolina Clemson, but I love border battles, and this is a big one, especially coming off their last game. Both of their last games was against each other. So South Carolina's last game was against North Carolina in the bowl game. So that's also a big thing. We're getting a rematch right away. But yeah, North Carolina, Drake May, love the Tar Heels in that game. Our Saturday nightcapper is Tulane and South Alabama. Tulane coming off of a great year last year. They're getting 6.5. 6.5 points this week as the favorite. The over under set at 51.5. Tulane's hit the over in 7 of the last 8 games, while South Alabama is 4-5-1 in their last 10 games against the spread. Billy, what are you thinking for Tulane and South Alabama?
Give me Tulane. I love Tulane. I love Michael Pratt. I love this team. I'll go minus 6.5 Tulane. And then give me the over, man. I think there's gonna be a ton of points in this game. Both teams high powered offenses, over 51.5. Tulane's a good team, man. They got their quarterback back. Their coach, they still have their coach. Who is Tulane? Willie Fritz at Tulane. I want to say he's still there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, return their head coach, got the continuity. They got their quarterback, Michael Pratt, back. They lost Tajay Spears, who's here in Nashville, the Titans now. But yeah, give me Tulane, man. I don't know a ton about South Alabama, but give me the green wave.
The only thing that I've really seen on South Alabama is a lot of people have them winning their conference. I see a lot of people backing them for a bowl game, which is cool, awesome. South Alabama USA, you gotta love it. But Tulane had a great year last year. I don't know if they can really match that year, losing Tajay Spears, losing some of their better receivers. But the Pratt Daddy is back. Michael Pratt is back in action, back in praction, if you would. So give me Tulane minus 6.5. I'm not going to touch the over under in this game, simply due to the fact that I don't know much about South Alabama, and I don't know what they're going to bring on the road against Tulane. But yeah, Tulane was a fun team last year, and I'm hoping they'll be a fun team this year. I have a future on them to win their conference, so book it already. And our biggest game of the weekend. This game, there's playoff implications already. It's not gonna knock either one of them out, but man, it will look good on that resume and the win column. Uh, LSU taking on Florida State. LSU on the road at Florida State. FSU 2.5 point dog with the over under set at 55.5. Florida State has hit the over in their last 5 home games, while LSU has only hit the under in 1 of their last 8 games. So, Philly, biggest game of the weekend, a massive week 1 game with a lot of implications. Sunday night prime time television. Where are you leaning towards here?
Give me the LSU Tigers. I love LSU in this game. Minus 2.5. I don't know about that over under though. I'll go under 55.5. I don't think there'll be that many points. But these over unders, man, it's impossible to read. But Florida State is a good team, and I know I picked them in my dark horse college football playoff. I'm high on Florida State, but LSU's in the SEC, right? It's a different level of ball. I know they're missing Mason Smith on the D line. John Emery, their running back, is going to be out. So that makes it a little bit tougher, and it's basically in a road environment. In Orlando, there's going to be a ton of FSU fans there. There's going to be a lot of LSU fans there as well. But I'm starting to slow down the hype train of FSU a little bit. I look back at their schedule last year. They beat some decent teams, but they didn't really beat any powerhouses, right? They didn't have any wins where you go, whoa, FSU's back. I like Mike Norvell, but I think LSU wins this one and fairly comfortably. I think they're going to make a statement against FSU. Give me LSU minus 2.5, but under 55.5. I think their defense will play well, but give me the Tigers.
So, I know we talked about earlier Heisman future bets, and there's a player in this game that I have a Heisman future on, and that would be quarterback for Florida State, Jordan Travis. Give me the Noles plus 2.5.
The Noles.
The Noles plus 2.5. They beat LSU last year on a wild ending, on a missed extra point. And that was LSU's kind of opening, not the way you want it for Brian Kelly. This is a very good quarterback game. Jordan Travis and I want to. It's Jaden Daniels. Yeah, correct. Yeah, okay. The Kansas quarterback has a very similar name. So we have a really good quarterback matchup. Brian Kelly coming into year 2 with LSU, and it had a great year last year. Had a good end of the year last year, making it to the SEC title game. And a lot of people have them picked to win the West again this year, me included in that conversation. I have both of these teams in their conference title games. But only for the sake of the Heisman futures bet, give me Florida State plus 2.5 because it would be massive for Jordan Travis to go to. It's a home game, so it's going to be not as big as going on the road. But if you perform against this LSU team and you beat this LSU team, and that looks great come December when you're sitting in New York, looking at that trophy from the seats. And I'm going over 55.5. I'm gonna fade you with both picks here. I think with both quarterbacks, it's going to be electric. Jordan Travis, especially late last year,
Mm-hmm.
just looked like Menzel on the field, probably a little bit faster, honestly. So you have two Heisman hopefuls. So yeah, I like FSU plus 2.5 at home, with the over of 55.5 hitting. Man, will I be extremely happy if Jordan Travis just balls out. I will be very concerned if he does not, because this is a big step for him week one. I know it's only week one, but man, you don't forget about it come Heisman time. So yeah, so that's our slate for this week. Billy, give me a real quick prediction for Vanderbilt against Alabama A&M. Don't have spreads, or I don't have any over unders, but just what are you thinking for that game?
Yeah, I think Vandy gets back on track. I haven't even seen a spread yet. So, you get a lot of those late, when you got an FCS opponent. But yeah, give me Vandy. I think this is the blowout Vandy fans wanted against Hawaii. I think they'll get it this weekend. You know, I 42-7. I think it'll be bad. I don't. Only thing I know about Alabama A&M right now is that they show some exotic looks on the defensive line occasionally. But no, it is Vanderbilt has to. They cannot slip up in this one because if they still make the same mistakes against Alabama A&M, they got serious problems going forward. So, yeah, I got Vandy big in this one.
Alabama also taking on a local team to both of us, MTSU. That should
Mm-hmm.
be a slaughter fest for Bama. So interested to see what they do. But yeah, that's our week one slate. Billy, real quick before we go, lock of the week. Hit me with it.
Oh, lock of the week. Uh, you know, lock of the week, man. Give me LSU minus 2.5. I mean that.
LSU minus 2.5 lock of the week. I like it. I'm here for it.
I mean, why not, man? I like the Tigers. I like Jaden Daniels. I like their defense. They got Malik Neighbors at receiver. I love LSU, especially in this matchup. So LSU minus 2.5, lock of the week.
I'm gonna go. I know I talked about this earlier. It was my early lock of the week. Well, it's still my lock of the week. Nebraska +7 tomorrow night. I'm gonna get my lock of the week out of the way early. So if I lose, I know I'll be 0-2 by the time we record next week. Um, Billy, I know it's late. I'm ready to hit the bed. I think we both had a busy day today. So thank you guys for everything. Follow the YouTube channel. New rebrand coming soon. New Twitter page coming soon. So a lot of coming soon. So thank you guys. As always, we'll catch you next week.